Hello student, I am Supriya Mogle. I am working as an assistant professor at Center for Distance Education, Shivaji University. So I am here to discuss about a very interesting and important topic of application of research methodology for management, that is collection of data. So first we'll see the introduction. What is data? Why data is important and why collection of data is necessary for your research. So data is one of the most important and vital aspect of any research studies. Every research is based on data which is further analyzed and interpreted to get the information. A data can be defined as quantitative or qualitative values. It can be numbers, images, words, figures, facts, or ideas. Data in itself cannot be understood by anyone. So to understand the data, you have to convert it into meaningful information. Why data collection is necessary for research? Data is a basic for every type of research conducted in any type of area. The findings and recommendations of any research are based on the collected data only. Suppose the collected data is not relevant or not valid, then your result of your research would not be very useful. Therefore, data collection is very necessary in any research. The next point is sources of data. Sources of data means from where you can get the data for your research. So there are two types of sources, primary and secondary. We'll see one by one. First is primary data. It is original data that has been collected specially for the purpose of research. And this data is data from the original source. Okay, it is reliable, not published obviously, and you cannot change or alter this data. Next is methods of primary data. So there are various methods of primary data collection. First is observation, interview, and then questionnaire. We'll see one by one in detail. Observation method. It is a method in which population of interest is observed to find relevant facts and figures. Okay, observing a person is an art because it requires special skills to study the behavior of person. A common person observes something just for sake of the interest, but a researcher observes for a particular purpose. For example, researcher observes in retail shops some people are buying products and some people are not buying anything. In this case, researcher tries to find out reasons behind why and how people buy the product and why some are not buying the product. And also he observes how in-house staff treat with the customers and how they behave with them. So there are some sub-methods of observation. First is natural method. Here, the researcher observes the behavior of people without any intervention. Means he observes activities, movement, gesture, facial expressions of people. For example, a researcher observing bikes passing on the road to study most popular brand in the city. So that is a natural method. The next is contrived method. Contrived. So contrived means here researcher takes the information from the people in an indirect way. I'll tell you one example. A researcher goes to different shopkeepers as a customer to buy some products, and here he observes the behavior of shopkeeper with the customer. So that is contrived method. The next is direct method. So what is direct method? Here researcher waits for particular experiment or a particular behavior to occur. This process takes longer time to get a single response. I would like to give one example. Researcher is observing the sale of new product in an automobile showroom. He has to wait till the customer comes in the showroom and sees the product. He may or may not buy that product. Okay, suppose first customer sees and immediately buys the product, then also researcher has to wait for the other customers, because research cannot be conducted by observing only one customer. So it is lengthy and it is time taking process or observation. The next is indirect method. Indirect method of observation means researcher observes the behavior that has occurred in the past. Okay, this method consumes less time and cost as compared to other methods. So what here do, a researcher needs to know the sell of particular brand in the store, then data is collected from the register showing the sale of different products in the store. That means the behavior that has occurred in the past, you are just getting the information which is recorded. Okay, the next point is structured observation. So what is structured observation? Here researcher knows what exactly is to be observed. Okay, for example, a researcher wants to know about particular brand of the car. For example, nano car, which is specially implemented for the middle class people. So then he will observe only that brand and he will not pay attention on other brands. That is structured method. And opposite to that, unstructured observation. What is unstructured observation? Researcher do not know what exactly he has to observe. It is used in exploratory research design actually. He wants to search all the aspects that can affect a problem. Okay, for example, a researcher wants to study buying behavior of people for different brands of same product. He would study all that factors that can affect the buying decision. The last method of observation is mechanical observation. So what is mechanical observation? Here researcher uses some electronic devices to observe people's responses like video cameras or audio makers, etc. So these are some sub methods of observations. It provides accurate data and you will not get any biased responses. But the limitation is researcher cannot remain present at every place. Okay, you can't study the behavior of some people as they do not reveal their true behavior all the time. So this is the limitation of observation method. The next method of primary data is interview method. This method is used to do an in-depth study of research problem. Okay, here researcher asks the respondent to react or to speak. There are also some sub methods for interview. The first is structured interview. So what is structured interview? Here researcher prepares question and decides their sequence before the interview. Means here researcher prepares a question in advance. The sequence is also defined. That is called structured interview. And unstructured, opposite to that, here questions are not predefined. Researcher asks the question according to the situation and the environment. The third sub-method of interview is individual in-depth interview. So what is individual in-depth interview? Researcher takes the interview of one respondent at a time. It is very useful in getting in-depth knowledge of the topic. Then telephonic interview. Telephonic interview means researcher takes interview with the help of telephone. This method is very convenient because it saves time and cost and we don't have to travel here. Then group interview. What is group interview? Researcher takes the interview of a group of respondents at a time. These groups are classified into two groups. Okay, focus group and consumer panels. So in focus group, there are 8 to 12 members in a group. They are provided with a topic of discussion. And what is consumer group? Consumer group means people are randomly selected and introduced a new product advertisement and they asked to discuss their experiences with each other, and this will help researcher to know about the behavior of people with respect to that product. The last type is computer assisted interview. Here researcher takes the interview with the help of computer. Okay, telephonic means with the help of telephone, and computer means with the help of computers. This is also divided into two types, CATI and CAPI. CATI means computer assisted telephonic interview, and CAPI means computer assisted personal interview. So computer assisted telephonic interview means computers are connected with the telephone of the interviewer. Questions appear on the screen of the computer. Interviewer asks those questions through the telephone, and then interviewer feeds the responses in the computer system. Got it? CAPI, Computer Assisted Personal Interview. Here interviewees can administer their interviews themselves with the help of software which is installed in the system. They can directly feed the responses in the computer. So this is all about the interview method. You can collect the data by interviewing. It is very useful method because it provides in-depth knowledge of topic, and it helps in getting responses from large population. Okay, the next questionnaire method. Questionnaire method is very simplest method of uh, data collection. Questionnaire method, it is written form of interview. However, there is one difference. Questions are in quantitative form, hence it is easy to code. Okay, if a questionnaire is in qualitative form, it is very difficult to analyze that questions, and one can collect the data by directly approaching or through mail or through online questionnaire. Here, researcher can fill the questionnaire by directly approaching the respondents or through mails, or he can create online questionnaire. But here the most important part is to design appropriate questionnaire to get the desired result. You have to frame the questionnaire appropriate. Okay, there are some phases of questionnaire. First is defining objectives. So what is defining objectives? It refers to specify the purpose of your research. Objectives should be realistic and achievable so that researcher will get relevant information. Then next type is deciding the type of questions. There are two types of questions. First is uh, open-ended questions, and second is closed-ended questions. So open-ended questions means researcher should identify the kinds of questions. Open-ended, it does not have fixed responses. Okay, researchers or respondents are free to answer. For example, there is one question: do you think training is important for an organization? Please give reasons. So this question comes under open-ended. And what is closed-ended? Here responses are already provided by the researcher, and respondents have to be selected most appropriate response. Okay, for example, to utilize skill and knowledge of workers, training is very important, and options are strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree. So this comes under closed-ended questions. The third phase is writing questionnaire. Here actual questionnaire is framed, and researcher needs to be take care of following aspects. Okay, so researcher has to make small questionnaire. It should have limited questions. Then wording and format should be simple and easy to understand. You have to avoid technical words. Okay, use as many scaling questions as possible because it can be quantified very easily. Then check whether questions are related to achieving the objectives, and start with simple question and move to the complex question. So this is the you have to be very careful while framing your questionnaire. Then the last phase is evaluation. Evaluation means to assess the effectiveness of questionnaire. Evaluation is very much important. So what you have to do here, make a questionnaire and distribute to 50 people and analyze the responses. Check whether the responses are meeting with the objectives or not. If yes, then it is fit to use. Otherwise, you have to reframe the questionnaire. Okay. So the advantages of questionnaire is it is easy to analyze and increase the coverage area for data collection with the help of internet or email. But limitation is this method makes difficult for the researcher to define the extent of simplicity of questions because it should be understood by every person according to their education, their culture, age and experiment. So this was about questionnaire. The next is secondary data. Till now we have discussed about primary data collection. Now the second part is secondary data collection. The data that is collected in the past but can be utilized in the present research work is called secondary data. It requires less time as required to primary. Some methods of secondary data like company records, internet, print media, census and other government records. So what is company record? Company record means information in the form of balance sheets, sales records, and this information is used to forecast overall growth of the company. Okay, company records, by having company records, you can analyze that company is moving on right track or not. Then internet. Through internet, you will get large data. It gives information regarding previous researches done on the same topic, or it provides lots of data related to your research topic. Okay, then print media. Print media means everything that is published, newspapers, magazines, or books, research papers, previous journals. So you can have that data also. Then census and other government records. This data contains personal information of respondents, but this method is mostly used by the government and big organizations. For example, governments wants to know that how many parts are there in the country that still don't have electricity. So that comes under government record. So this was about secondary data. I hope you understand the difference between primary data and secondary. So the conclusion is data is very basic of every research. Without data, you cannot do any research. Okay, know your topic very well because on your topic you are going to have your objectives and then you are going to collect your data. Planning is very important here. You have to plan what type of data you require for your research. So plan for that. Then select proper method of data collection and while careful while collecting the data. So why I am saying select proper method of data collection? For example, I want to study the cancer patients in the age group 12 to 14 and I am using observation method. So it is right? No. By only observing, I cannot collect data of cancer patient. I cannot dictate that the person is cancer affected. So you have to select the proper method of data collection and you have to very careful while collecting data because the research findings and recommendations of that data is based on your data. Okay, so I hope you have understood the topic very well. Thank you.